Okay, so as a middle-class white guy, it's kind of hard for me to talk with much authority about hip-hop, as it is, in all honesty, a fairly recent addition to things I like. Until then, it was just the music listened to by the inbreds that bullied me at school. So being fairly new to the rap world, there are a few things that piqued my interest that I wanted to explore. Today we'll be exploring one together, and that is the East versus West Coast hip-hop war. Or New York versus Los Angeles if you prefer, or even East Side versus West Side. I promise to never do that again. So, tiny bit of background, hip-hop emerged from the South Bronx of New York City, about there, in the 1970s, gaining traction through the 80s with artists like Run DMC, Biz Markie and LL Cool J. The formation of hip-hop deserves its own video, so expect that sometime in the future. The West Coast rap scene emerged in 1986 when Ice-T released 6 in the Morning. This track was widely agreed to be the first gangster rap song, gangster spelt with 2 A's, and this was a catalyst for the scene to erupt. N.W.A, founded by Eazy-E, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube and a few others, were one of the bigger acts to emerge. Eazy-E also co-founded Ruthless Records in 1987 and released Ice Cube's Dope Man on their first EP. Dope Man, incidentally, would set the bar in terms of vulgarity for a gangster rap song. Ruthless Records kinda transformed into Death Row Records in the early 90s, and by that I mean a fairly dodgy guy called Suge Knight bullied Eazy-E into abandoning the contracts of those who wanted to leave. This included Dr. Dre, who suspected Eazy and N.W.A's manager Jerry Heller of fiddling the books, as it were. So, when did things really start to get unpleasant? In 1991, New York rapper Tim Dog released Compton in direct reference to the successful N.W.A track. The track poked fun at the West Coast style of dress and made threats to artists including Eazy-E and Dr. Dre. The video includes what we assume to be a Dre lookalike and the burning of an LA football jersey. The message was clear. There's also an amazing section where Tim Dog does whatever this is. Just golden. Retaliation tracks were released by Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, DJ Quick and Compton's Most Wanted. In 1993, frustrated by the attention the West Coast scene was getting, Sean Combs, better known as Puff Daddy, formed the New York label Bad Boy Entertainment, releasing albums by Craig Mack and the notorious B.I.G. Following the success of Bad Boy's debut releases, West Coast rapper Tupac Shakur, also known as Tupac and occasionally Machiavelli, who was born in New York incidentally, publicly accused notorious B.I.G. and Puff Daddy of organising his attempted murder at a Manhattan recording studio in 1994. It's generally accepted now that they were not involved, but shortly after the shooting, and by unfortunate coincidence, notorious B.I.G. released the track Who Shot Ya? Although the track was recorded prior to the shooting, the timing of its release was interpreted by the hip-hop community as taunting Tupac. In response, Tupac appeared on various tracks making threats toward Bad Boy Entertainment and anyone associated with the notorious B.I.G. The notorious B.I.G., also known as Biggie Smalls, just by the way. This shooting was a turning point in Tupac's career. From here we get loads of paranoid references to death in his lyrics, and the press absolutely loved it. They turned Tupac into some kind of immortal rap superhero. The media, as per their nature, helped escalate what they called the Coastal Rap War by turning Biggie Smalls and Tupac into the poster boys for their respective sides. This was not helped by either's media-friendly illegal activities and alleged activities. Many expected a retaliation record from the East Coast, but none was ever released. Certain lyrics in Biggie's albums at the time could be interpreted as threats or shots aimed at Tupac, but Puff Daddy always maintained that should Biggie make threats towards Tupac, he would not have been subtle about it. In September of 1996, Tupac attended a boxing match between Bruce Seldon and his favourite boxer, Mike Tyson. After the match, which Tyson won by the way, Tupac was caught on camera assaulting a member of the Crips gang in response to the robbery of a Death Row affiliate. Later that evening, en route to a club, Tupac was shot at by a passing car. He was hospitalized for just under a week before he died. 6 months later, in March of 1997, Biggie Smalls was touring to promote his second studio album when he was also fatally shot. He was shot whilst waiting at a red light in striking similarity to Tupac's murder. This led many to believe that this was a retaliation by those who thought Biggie was responsible for Tupac's death. In the wake of Tupac's murder, Death Row began to crumble. Suge Knight went to prison, which caused the distributors to abandon their contract with Death Row, as did many of the artists, including Snoop Dogg. A formerly united front of artists began to turn on each other. Bad Boy Entertainment saw a commercial peak with Biggie's posthumously released Life After Death, but this was short-lived. Bad Boy hit an all-time low after this, which he would not recover from until 2005. So, summary time. I don't think there was a coastal war. I think it was a media construct to do what the media does best, exacerbate situations for their own monetary gain. Yes, there were small-scale individual rivalries like Tim Dog vs N.W.A, or Snoop and Dre's retaliation, or Tupac believing Bad Boy tried to murder him. There are some compelling arguments that the only real conflict was between Suge Knight and Puff Daddy, who encouraged their artists to attack each other, either physically or verbally. This brainwashed hip-hop fans into choosing sides and led more suggestible fans to try and take the lives of opposing fans or artists. This was not helped by the violent content of the music. Up until his shooting in Manhattan, Tupac thought of Puff Daddy as a mentor from his time in New York, and he was reasonably friendly with Biggie Smalls. Perhaps the media's exaggeration of the East-West rivalry got to Tupac, and he assumed Bad Boy were responsible for what happened to him. Aside from this, Tupac hated the idea of a coastal war and stated so publicly. Biggie Smalls claimed to have nothing but respect for Tupac and was shocked by his death. I don't know whether we'll ever know the individuals responsible for either murder, but we do know that it brought an end to the media's coastal war. The deaths of these larger-than-life characters also gave hip-hop some much-needed real-world pathos. Previously, lyrics about violence and gun crime were just a front of masculine bravado and testosterone, but once those things had taken away hip-hop's poster boys, well, in my opinion, this is the point that allowed rap artists to explore deeper concepts other than rivalries and violence. Well, except for the crap the big labels want you to hear, even to this day. If you take anything away from this video, it's that I basically dislike major labels. And the media, I guess. Oh, and Lil Wayne. Particularly Lil Wayne, he is just awful. Please do like, subscribe, comment on all of those nice things, tell your friends about these videos, come back for more, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.